you kind of talk off the cuff
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Exactly.
So we'll start off with some questions, but then just feel free
No,
to
go ahead.
elaborate.
Sure.
Okay, good. So can you start by just telling us your name and when you attended North Rockland?
Yeah, my name is John Ramundo, Jr., and I attended North Rockland, I'll say Haverstraw, the high school, in 63 and 64. And I went to sent to boarding school for my last 2 years, Mount St. Michael Academy in the Bronx. And my association with it is the fact that I lived there by the school for a number of years as a young child, as a little boy. And so I knew everyone there. I was in that school even after I left. I was in and out of that school constantly. You know. It was actually my grandmother's house on Grant Street. And unfortunately, my mother passed away when I was only like 7 years old. So 2 years later, my father remarried and we moved to Garnerville. But my heart and soul is always in the village of Haverstraw, and to this day it is. You know, I've lived in West Haverstraw now for since 1976. I live in Garnerville, still in the village. I'm also the former mayor of West Haverstraw for 2 terms. So my association with the school district, I knew pretty much, I was 10 years old when this all came about, you know, going from Haverstraw to Haverstraw Stony Point initially, before it became North Rockland. And there were a lot of sentiments in the Haverstraw, and I only know because of my father, that they were against this. And I can tell you the reasons why. You're going to have Joe Gordon here, I understand. He can really give you the ins and outs. We had 3 schools at the time, Haverstraw. I was obviously the main school down on Grant Street. That's what I refer to it. And we had the West Haverstraw Railroad Avenue School. And we also had the Garnerville 202 School. Stony Point had 1.5 schools at the time. They had the old administration building on West Main Street. And they also had the Buckberg, which was later enlarged, Buckberg School. I think it's just used for warehouse, or may have even been sold now. I don't know. Yeah. But that was it. That's essentially all they had. And the Haverstraw people were against it because they felt they were going to have to pay their share, don't get me wrong, and for something that Stony Point needed. And that's why people Haverstraw were against it. You know, and again, my father being one of them. But, you know, the Tappan Zee Bridge is what brought about all of this, you know, because of the influx. You know, people were moving here from across, mainly from the Bronx. And my wife and I are both Haverstraw natives, by the way, which is unusual today. We're both born and raised in Haverstraw. But, you know, I guess for the most part, again, I'm not a graduate, so I'm not an alumni, you know, I'm not an alumnus, I'm not part of the Alumni Association. But my heart and soul has always been with Haverstraw. You know, I love Haverstraw. And it is what it is today. You know, I mean, you know, North Rockland, you know, Papa and I, who you just interviewed, we've been friends since we were teenagers. You know, we're good friends over the years, and the fact that we both got into politics, another story. You know, sometimes it doesn't work out. However, but that's pretty much it, you know. But, you know, again, when Joe Gordon comes, you'll get some really insight. And Joe can get very emotional and very outspoken, so get ready. But he's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy, Joe.
Good. So what's your favorite memory as a student in North Rockland?
My favorite teacher, my favorite memory. I played football for 2 years. I mean, I was only there, like I say, 2 years. I played 1 year of basketball. I wasn't an ideal student by any means, I'm not afraid to say that. I really wasn't. I was always the type had to learn things the hard way. But my favorite teacher was my English teacher, the second year, Laura Fox. In fact, I have no idea where she's probably got passed, but I think she lived in Pearl River, and she never would know this, obviously, but I named my daughter after her because I guess the easiest way to say she saw something in me. Now, understand, my stepmother was a teacher, but then left. She was a teacher there at Haverstraw High School. She taught Latin and English. And I took Latin with Miss Davies, Muriel Davies. Didn't do too well, but I took it 2 years and got 1 credit. But anyway, but I guess the camaraderie, my friendships, to this day, I still have one of my closest friends is a retired teacher. I mean, not only Papa, but Richie Korn. Mm-hmm. Richie and we still keep in touch. He lives in Virginia Beach, and but we still keep in touch. And Richie was a year ahead of me, actually. And I always remember he was a sophomore, I was a freshman, and he's saying that he failed the geometry regents. He said, in fact, his grade was below freezing. But I always remember that. I have to remind him of that in any event. But the friendships essentially is what I got from it and what I think, how I feel about it. And I'm embarrassed to say I have not been in that school in I don't know how many years, the old high school. I don't know if you folks are probably too young to remember the playground that was there up above, right on the Lincoln Street, West Lincoln there. But I was there every day. And then I was out on the field growing up as a little boy, a young boy, with my father, who took care of the athletic field. In fact, the old baseball field up the new school named after him. There's a sign up.
That's right.
And Joe, Coach Cass, had a lot to do with that. But I remember as a little boy riding in the tractor when he was cutting the grass. Now I'm talking, I was like 4 or 5 years old. So that's how far back. And even one time he locked me in the garage there. The garage is still there at the Markham Field, but he locked me in, because he walked, it was so close, he didn't have to drive to work. And then he realized it. He came, and I remember him telling me years later, he says, "Oh my God, you were crying, and I didn't know what to do. Your mother was going to kill me." And, as things turned out, yeah. And there were old willow trees down there. I remember that because it was, that was a swampy area, the old Markham Field area. And they had the willow trees absorbed the water and the moisture. And then they ended up cutting them all down. But I have a lot of fond memories, again, my association. But I knew everybody, even as a little boy, everyone that went to school there, because they would use that entrance on Grant Street to go up to the corner, Joe's Corner, and go to the different restaurants to have lunch when you were allowed off campus, back then. Nicky Lucas's place, the Greeks, that was a restaurant diner, not just an ice cream place way back then. But there were, and you mentioned Mardos, forget it. I still miss Mardos. That's another story. I don't know what else you may want to ask me.
So you might not be an alum, but you're definitely part of the family. So what does it mean to be part of the North Rockland family?
I'm very proud of it. I've watched the change in the demographics and my associations. Understand that when I grew up, this is the family. Grant Street, there are only 3 houses on Grant Street. And we were the only Caucasian family. It was a black family back four, four-unit apartment house next door, which were all blacks. The next house were all, back then, all Hispanic, Puerto Rican. And essentially, I didn't have any, growing up, when I'm 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, I didn't have any Caucasian friends, you know? I didn't know anything about prejudice. Clinton Street was across the street, and the Watkins brothers, Ernie and Eddie, I grew up with. And today, in fact, to this day, Eddie and I still have lunch a couple times a year. You know, we keep in touch. Had the Ricaldo family behind us on petition. But you know, yes, I am. You know, I'm very proud to be a Haverstride and a North Rockland person. I guess is the proper term now.
So, as your role as mayor, would you be able to assess the district's impact on the community, or any events or any memories of the district helping the community?
I left the job specifically. Why I decided my predecessor, Mayor Ed Zugaby, was my political mentor. In fact, he's the one that got me into politics, and I succeeded him. And we, I had worked for, I still call it Spring Valley Water. It's known as Suez now, the local water company. And, you know, it became United Water. And then I was there 34 years. I was a manager of new business for a number of years. And I left that job because I always wanted, it was to fill one of my life's dreams was to be mayor of West Haverstraw. I had served on the board for a number of years previously, and then I was asked to go onto the town board with Papa, and I served there 2 years before I ran for mayor. I left that job, and my wife always reminds me, your salary was 3 times what it is as mayor. Why did you do that? And she knew. She knows that she being a Haverstraw girl, she knew that that was always one of my life's desires, you know. And but I used to have once a month I would meet with different neighborhoods, you know. And again, the demographics has changed. You know, our residents have changed. You know, the influx from Latin America, South America, and I would meet with them and, you know, their concerns, and try to explain to them that this is what happens. I'd like to believe this is probably my greatest gift as mayor, was meeting with the community, different neighborhoods. I say the community, different. I would meet with like about 4 different neighborhoods that thought they were having issues. And I would explain to them, you have a different culture now, and you have to go along with it, you know, and cope the best you can. You know, and most of the people that came, not most of, but a lot of the people that came were old timers that lived here all their lives, and elderly. And in fact, a couple of times I had to pick a few of them up to bring them to the meeting. You know, this was after hours. You know, at night I would meet with them at Village Hall. But I made some. I think that one of the biggest things that I accomplished, I brought in Meals on Wheels. They had lost their place. The North Rockland Meals on Wheels group. We have if you've been to the village of West Haverstraw, you know, we have that little community room when you walk straight in, and they meet there every day, Meals on Wheels, and it's all North Rockland people. And when I was approached about it, you know, I was asked, and I said, let me talk to my board. I said, quite honestly, I have no problems with it. I think it's a good thing. You know, if we can get you folks here. And needless to say, I knew a lot of them that were coming. But they're still there. You know, I was elected mayor in 2007. So they've been there, it's over 11 years now, you know. And when I stop in, not often, but every so often, when I do stop in to see them, they all just, you know, they keep thanking me, you know, for letting them use the facility. which I'm happy and proud about, you know, that I did. But many of that.
Okay,
That's a great place to
that's
start.
great.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.